Good afternoon, everyone. This is Ajay Gupta. I'm going to make a short video on Introduction to Computer Networks, which is for the undergraduate course for the BCA students, course number 503 of the CCS University. So this will be an overview of what we are going to do in the whole course and introduction. Let me start by sharing my slides. Hope you can all see the slides. I'm going to make a full screen out of it. Thank you so much. So this is a talk on Introduction to Computer Networks. Today we are going to discuss and get a feel for the terminologies that are prevalent in this technology. We start with data communications, internet, protocol layers, service models, network edge, network core, performance, security, a little of history. So as we all know, computer networks and today's internet is one of the largest engineered systems ever created by mankind, with hundreds of millions of connected computers, right? Communication links all over the place and switches with billions of users who connect via laptops, tablets, smartphones, an array of new internet connected devices called things, Internet of Things, including game consoles, surveillance systems, watches, eyeglasses, thermostat, body scales, cars, TVs. Everyone is connected through. Smart TVs is a way of life now. Everyone is connected through smart TVs using the internet. So given that internet is so large and so complex, do you think we can study it and learn something, and will it be fun to kind of understand how things work? Is this complex system easy to understand? We will see how we can understand it because the whole thing is organized so much nicely. Okay. So we will begin at the network's edge. Network's edge means we are at the edge, the servers are at the edge, and then there is something called as network core, which is inside the, like maybe transferring data from one country to the other. That is the core, which uses all the routers and things like that to transfer data from one place to the other. We will learn that internet is a network of networks and how these networks connect to each other for transferring data. So then we will look at the key architectural principles in computer networking, which is mainly protocol layers and service model. That is the whole architecture of internet we are going to study. We will also learn about security. We will learn that how computer networks are vulnerable to many different types of attacks, and we will survey some of these attacks and consider how computer networks can be made more secure. Today, the computer is finding it's used in all types of financial transactions. So security is important. All kinds of data is being used to transfer. So the data has to be securely transferred. And then finally, we will have a little look at the history of computer networking, how the network protocols and things like that came about. Let's first start with the basic term. What do you mean by data communication? The word telecommunication means communication at a distance. The word tele is the one which means distance in Greek. Okay. So data telecommunication basically means that we are trying to exchange data between two devices via some form of transmission medium. It could be a wire cable, wireless, or fiber, light, or even radio waves, things like that, right? So let's look at what are the networking components and what are the terminologies that you guys all need to be familiar with. Okay. So the internet is a computer network that interconnects billions of computing devices. Not long ago, these computing devices were only limited to desktop PCs, Linux workstations, and the so-called servers that used to store and transmit information, such as web pages and emails, etc. But today, things are much different. We have all kinds of things connected on the internet: laptops, smartphones, tablets, TVs, gaming console, home security system, home appliances, everything is connected on the internet. Okay. And what are the end systems? So let's just look at this diagram now. So there are billions of connected computing devices, and you need to be familiar with the terms like PC, you all know, personal computer, server, that is the client server model, how a client services how a server services the clients, so through servers, and then wireless laptop and smartphones. These are all connected through wireless technologies. What do you understand by the term host? And what do you understand by the term end system? So host basically means a server, which is an end system. And then there are multiple network apps running all over the place. Even like simple browser is also a network app. It tries to connect you to some hosts or end system. So looking at the diagram, we have the mobile network, which is using a cell phone tower to connect mobile devices, your laptop, and all these things are connected to your wireless system. We have the home network, again, wireless is used to connect your laptops and even phone through Wi-Fi network to your broadband router. And then we have the institutional networks, such as, say, for example, IMS Noida is an institution. It has its own network. It has a fiber coming to the main computer room, the data center. And then using firewalls, it is made secure. And the internet is transmitted to all the buildings in the campus. So, and what type of links are there? We have the wireless links and we have the wired links. We have fiber. Fiber, you should understand all these things. Fiber means basically light, which is being used to transmit the information, which is bits, ones and zeros. Copper generally means it is twisted pair, such as Ethernet cable or a coaxial cable. Then we have radio and satellite. Radio generally means microwave links, which transmit data from one location to the other, generally in a straight line. So they are limited in terms of distance. Then satellite was also there for transmission, but satellite introduces a lot of delays in the network. And then you should understand the term, what is called bandwidth. Bandwidth is measured in bits per second. That means how many bits are going, not bytes per second. So if I say the bandwidth is 10 Mbps, it basically means 10 megabits per second, not bytes. Bytes is 8 bits megabyte. So megabits per second is the transmission rate. And this transmission rate will vary with the medium. It is the highest for fiber. We can transmit at a very high rate. Copper is medium. Radio is less than copper. And satellite, of course, there's a delay of the atmospheric distance between geostationary satellite. So that is roughly about 270 milliseconds for each transmission. So this is the concept of bandwidth, which you should understand, right? Then you have to understand the concept of a packet. So whenever I have chunks of data, so we are going to use what is called packets. So I have a huge file to transfer. I cannot transfer the whole file at the same time. I break it up into segments and packets and transfer the packets one by one. I use routers and switches to do the transfer. And this transfer, once it is received at the other end receiver has to reassemble all the packets, right? I'm going to read this line here. So end systems are connected together by a network of communication links and packet switches. We will see that there are many types of communication links which are made up of different types of physical media, such as coaxial cable, copper wire, optical fiber, radio spectrum, etc. Different links can transmit data at different rates, with the transmission rate of a link being measured in bits per second. When one end system has data to send to another end system, the sending end system segments the data, that means breaks the data, and adds header bytes to each segment. The resulting packages of information, known as packets in the jargon of computer networks, are then sent through the network to the destination end system, where they are reassembled into original data. Okay, so the sending the packets and reassembling is a major challenge. Of course, some packets will get lost on the way. Retransmission has to be done. All that we'll see as we progress through the course. So we have seen now that internet is network of networks, but we forgot one thing major here, which is called global ISP. What is ISP? Let me just tell you. End system access internet through internet service provider. If you are getting network at home or in the institution or even anywhere, say in hotels and airports and things like that, ISP is the one which provides this service. So including residential IPs such as and telephone companies, corporate ISPs, university ISPs, they all provide internet access, providing mobile access to our smartphones and other devices. Each ISP is in itself a network. So we have a network of networks, and each ISP by itself is a network. Okay. They connect all the different units together. They connect these broadbands at home together. They connect all the institutions together. They connect all the cell phone towers together. So that is how the ISPs operate. ISPs operate at a regional level, maybe at a metropolitan level, maybe at a global ISP level, which is across a country. There's a one network of network at a very high level called generally tier 1, and this is regional is tier 2. Then within a city it could be tier 3. That is the ISP or internet service provider hierarchy. Okay, so and there's another terminology which you should be familiar with. These home networks and institution networks, they are called local area networks. That means they are limited to local use within say 1 or 2 kilometers. And then we have the metropolitan area network, which is limited to within a city, again through the ISP. And then we have the regional ISP or global ISP, which makes it wide area network, and generally it is referred to as a WAN, W-A-N, wide area network. Okay, so that is the scenario under which we have the ISPs. Then we come to what is protocol. Protocols are formats used by internet to transfer data. We have protocols such as TCP, IP, HTTP, and so and so. Then let me tell you what is internet standard. If we have to allow devices to communicate, we have to have some standards. Otherwise, how do we ensure compatibility, right? So we have Internet Engineering Task Force, which is a committee of ISOC, Internet Society, whose mission is to provide internet to everyone. The internet standards are developed by the Internet Engineering Task Force. The IETF standards document is called Request for Comments, RFC. RFC started out as general request for comments and hence the name, to resolve the network and protocol design problems that came about before the internet was fully developed to this point. Okay, so it started way back, and once these have been finalized, they are still referred to as RFCs. They contain all the technical details, and there are about 7,000 such RFCs already on the website of IETF. Okay. So now we come to protocol. What is a protocol? Suppose you are writing a letter to your friend, a simple letter. Then you put the letter, write the letter, put it in the envelope. Once you put it in the envelope, there is a fixed place where you have to write the to address, and if possible, you write the from address also. So that format in which the address has to be written is well defined. Similarly, for networking, we have protocols which are used by machines, which define the format and the order of messages which are sent and received among network entities. Okay. So till now, we have looked at the following components of networks: hosts, routers, links of various media, applications, protocols, hardware, and software. Now, if the media is going to be, if everything is so complex, how do we make it simple for us to organize so that we are able to understand all the communication which takes place? The best way to do it is through the use of what we call as layers. Everything is made through layers. So what do you mean by layers? So why layering? When we are dealing with complex system, we design layers so that we do things step by step. So at the topmost layer is the sender or the application. Then we have the processing, which is the middle layer. Then we have the hardware transmission, which is the lowest layer. So the modularization eases the maintenance and updating of system. That is why we prefer modularization or layer. Okay. So let us look at the internet protocol stack. It has 5 layers today: application layer, transport layer, network layer, link layer, and physical layer. We will be talking about all these layers in very strong detail. Sorry. So application layer is the one which contains all your applications such as FTP, file transfer protocol, SMTP, simple mail transfer protocol, hypertext for web, HTTP. Then we have the transport protocol. Basically, your application communicates to the operating system and a process is created. So process communication between sender and receiver is done by transport layer. Then routing of packets is done through network layer. Link layer is operating more at the LAN layer, at the local area network level, and physical bits transmit the data between different devices on the physical wire. So these are the 5 layers: application, transport, network, link and physical. But this TCP/IP protocol layer, Internet Protocol Stack, was not the original one. The main thing that originally was done was called OSI reference model through ISO, International Standards Organization, which was established in 1947. ISO standards, they created what is called as Open Systems Interconnection Model and was introduced in the late 70s. However, the OSI model was dominant earlier, but what happened was that most of the vendors, they started using TCP/IP model, which was a simplified version of OSI model. So the OSI layered model dominated the data communications and networking literature before 1990. And everyone believed that the OSI model would become the ultimate standard for data communication. But this did not happen. And the TCP/IP protocol suite became the dominant commercial architecture because it was used and tested extensively in the internet. And the OSI model, which was a 7-layer model, was never really fully implemented. So we have seen the TCP/IP model, which is a 5-layer model, and the OSI model was a 7-layer model. And these are the 2 additional layers which are present in the original OSI reference model: presentation layer and session layer. So what does it mean? That these layers are not required? No, they are definitely required. Except now in the TCP/IP layer model, these layers are the responsibility of the application layer. So if someone wants to, some application wants to implement encryption, they can do it on their own in the application layer itself. The receiver will not have a separate layer of presentation layer to mark it, and the separate session layer is also not there, which is used for synchronizing and checkpointing. So these 2 activities, if they are required, the application layer has to implement in its own application. That means I have to design a browser which does encryption. Otherwise, that browser could send data in plain text also. Your password could go out in plain text and no one will stop it. Okay. So it is our duty to ensure that we use applications which are implementing some level of encryption and things like that, so that our password cannot be read by the transiting devices, right? So out of this is the 7-layer model of the OSI, and the presentation and session layers are missing from the TCP/IP model. It makes it a 4-layer model. The original TCP/IP specifications, however, claimed TCP/IP to be a 4-layer model in which the link and the physical were merged as one single layer. So the TCP/IP model can be referred to as a 5-layer model as well as a 4-layer model. Then what is the network edge? Network edge is, we have seen, if we are sitting in the mobile network at home, we are at the edge. Access networks is wired, wireless and communication links, and core becomes the network of networks, which is basically routers. Interconnected routers form the network core. Say I am transmitting a packet from here to some other country, Europe or Australia or America. In that case, there will be interconnection of routers required from one continent to the other, and that is called as the network core. Once we have all this network, then how do we measure the performance? Sometimes we are not very happy with the network performance. We said, oh, very slow communication, and the broadband is not working fine, and reliability is also important. You don't want to put a web server which is not available to you. You want almost 24/7 services available on your web server. So websites, you want them to be up. Railway reservation, people can do any time of the day. So those kind of things are there, and you want security also built into the system. So what are the main performance things which are affected? One is the transmission delay, which happens at the router end. Propagation delay, what type of medium are you using to communicate between one router to the next? Then which router are you using? Are you using a simple router? In that case, there will be a processing delay. And then if you don't have enough buffer in the router, there will be a queuing delay. So all these kind of delays, they make up for what is called as the nodal delay for this node. Okay. And then we also have to check bit for errors and things like that. So this kind of delay is what we need to minimize. You will study this in the later chapters. And then we want to also make security. How bad guys can attack the computer networks, we need to defend ourselves. How we can defend networks against attack. We put a firewall, we put all kinds of things. How to design architectures that are immune to the attacks. Okay, that will security will be dealt with separately as a separate article, separate chapter. And then internet not originally designed with much security in mind. Initially, we only wanted to transfer a packet from one place to the other. So the security was not really required because they were mutually trusting users who were transferring data from one machine to the other. So because they were mutually trusting, security was not originally designed with in the internet. But now we are using internet for a lot of other purposes. So we need to put security into place. Let us quick look at the history. The internet history started in 1969 when the first ARPANET node was made operational by connecting 4 mainframes across 4 universities, and they were used to communicate data successfully. That was the start of internet, 1969. In 1974, Cerf and Khan, they created the architecture for interconnecting networks. 8382, we have the deployment of TCP/IP and applications such as SMTP and DNS. And 85, we have the FTP protocol coming into play. So DNS is very important for a name to IP resolution. And then 88, we had the TCP congestion control algorithm coming into play. So all this was the initial development. And what is the internet today? Today, the internet is connecting more than 30 billion devices, smartphones, tablets, Internet of Things, whatever. There's an aggressive deployment of broadband access. Fiber is reaching every nook and corner of every country in the world, increasing ubiquity. Ubiquity means everywhere we find internet, high-speed wireless access is available. Almost everywhere, including mountains, maybe not in the mountains and sea, but most places. Emergence of online social networks. Service providers set up their own networks. Google, Microsoft, they have their own heavy traffic network. Then e-commerce and universities, enterprises, they're all running all kinds of services. Everything is emerging, corporate level, cloud, everything is emerging in a big way. That's the state of internet. And that is my introduction to an overview of the internet for you. So wish you all the best. Thank you.